Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Last week, we spoke briefly about the leaked documents from the Supreme Court regarding their pending opinion on Roe v. Wade. Now, immediately after the documents were leaked, protesters convened upon the Supreme Court. Some were there to show their support of the Supreme Court's decision, and obviously some were opposed. These people were clearly exercising their rights of free speech, their freedom of assembly, and their right to express their grievances to the government. However, soon thereafter, the home addresses of some of the court justices were leaked. At that point, far-left extremists moved their protest to the residential neighborhoods of where these justices live and began harassing the justices right outside their homes. Some other groups turned to violence by firebombing pro-life resource centers and even vandalizing churches. Besides the obvious criminal actions of the violence and vandalism, the protests at the justices' residence are also in violation of federal law. U.S. Code Title 18 prohibits picketing, protesting, or parading in residential areas and specifically criminalizes these activities when their intention is to interfere, obstruct, or impede the administration of justice, or with the intent of influencing any judge in the discharge of his duty. These clearly illegal protests and riots have happened for several days and were reported broadly by several news media outlets. But the Department of Justice appeared to be simply ignoring them and apparently refused to enforce the law. Now compare the inaction by Joe Biden's Justice Department to these illegal protests outside Supreme Court justices' homes, to their quick action to investigate law-abiding parents as potential domestic terrorists who simply attended school board meetings just to express their concerns and grievances. The Department of Justice immediately investigated these and even went as far as to place a threat designation tag on parents who attended and spoke at some of these meetings. The partisan hypocrisy here is astounding. Just outside the Department of Justice building here in Washington, D.C., is the statue of a lady holding a scale. This scale represents the scale of justice. The eyes of the statue are covered by a blindfold, illustrating that justice is blind and is to be equally applied to everyone. However, this Justice Department has stripped off the blindfold and is obviously using partisan political scales to determine when, if, and to whom it will enforce the law. Earlier this week, I sent an official inquiry to Attorney General Merrick Garland, demanding that he answer why he and the department are ignoring these blatant violations of law and demanded that he take immediate action. Although I haven't received an official reply to this letter, it's interesting that within hours of them receiving it, the Department of Justice did announce that they would begin providing protection to the justices. Now, as this continues to unfold, I'm going to continue to monitor the situation, and we will hold the DOJ and other federal bureaucrats accountable. Another issue that has gotten the attention of Americans and even some in Congress is the critical shortage of baby formula. While this is mostly a supply and demand issue, predominantly due to a safety recall by one of the manufacturers, it has become a national crisis because of the pre-existing supply chain issues that have been brought on by the Biden administration's war on our economy. While there isn't much constitutionally Congress can do to increase the manufacturing of baby formula, I have joined in with several of my colleagues to officially call on the Food and Drug Administration, demanding that they fast-track approval for this manufacturer to get back online. Shortly after sending the letter, my friend and colleague from Florida, Representative Kat Kamek, revealed that the Biden administration had recently sent pallets of baby formula to facilities used to process illegal aliens at the southern border. Now, to me, it's outrageous that desperate American mothers can't get baby formula, but immigrants crossing our southern border illegally are well provided for. During her last press conference as White House Press Secretary, Jen Psaki said that the president has been working on the baby formula issue for several months now. If what she's saying is true, then the White House knew the critical shortage was imminent, but still sent desperately needed formula to the southern border. We're going to continue to look deeply into this issue, and we'll do everything we can to hold those accountable for this outrageous action. Of course, Americans are facing record inflation, food shortages, high and rising gas prices, and rampant crime. We're also facing significant threats to our national security. Although the mainstream media are focused on other issues, North Korea, Iran, China, and Russia are all showing historic aggression towards the United States, and some of them may soon become an imminent threat. While I and other Republicans in Congress are trying desperately to get the president and congressional Democrats to stop their disastrous policies that are hurting Americans, we're also staying vigilant on the national security front. As you're aware, America's support of Ukraine has been instrumental in their success against Russia's invasion. However, this support has depleted about 1/3 of the stockpile of certain weapons and armament that's critical to our own national defense. This week, I supported a measure that replenishes these weapons that we critically need, and it also provides additional support to United States military personnel. The bill also provides for some additional military hardware to the Ukrainian armed forces as well as humanitarian aid. While Democrats tried desperately to include their left-wing policies in this bill, like funding for COVID relief, abortions, and Biden's Department of Disinformation, Republicans were successful in keeping these items out of this bill. Our intelligence shows that Russia is a significant threat to our NATO allies in Europe and also to the United States. Putin has recently made direct threats against the United States and even threatened to use nuclear weapons against us and our allies. We must avoid at all costs getting America drawn into a war with Russia, and the best way to do that is to help Ukraine fight the war themselves. This bill continues the same successful national security policies of Presidents Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump, which is to provide support to those who are keeping our enemies away from our shores. Donald Trump successfully used this type of policy to defeat the spread of ISIS and even sent weapons to Ukraine when Russia threatened Ukraine during his administration. With a president as weak as Joe Biden, it's even more important that we do what we can to avoid direct conflict with these enemies. Yes, there's numerous issues that we're facing in this country. That's why it's important that we hold together as we put our freedom, our liberties, our safety, and our economy first. If we hold tight to those traditional American values that have led us through many dark times in this country, we will succeed and restore our nation to one that is free, safe, and full of opportunity. God bless you, and God bless America.
Hey, I'd like to hear from you. If you have a moment, tell me what you think about today's podcast. Just use the comment section below.